Caz from New Zealand. I'm a Stampin' Up demonstrator and avid crafter. I thought I'd come on and show my face and say hi. We're now going into winter at the end of the week, and winter has come to New Zealand. It's been frosty, very early, raining, and yeah, looking forward to some winter sun, but at the moment it's rain. So today I'm going to demonstrate with the soft pastels that Stampin' Up do. I did a class with this last week with my customers and some of my team, and I've had a few questions about using the pastels because people either have them or they're thinking about getting them but don't know quite what to do with them. So I'm going to go through the process of heat embossing some stamps, and then using the soft pastels for colouring in, and then I'll show you a little bit of background that you can do as well. So I'm going to turn the camera around. Oh, I've got itchy nose. Turn the camera around and we'll get started. Okay. There we go. So I'm just going to move you into shot. There we are. So we're going to use the everyday details, and I'm just going to go and see if we're live. Hopefully we are. Looks like we are. Yes, it says live. So I'm not going to watch it this time because it does drag a bit and then it distracts me. So today what we're going to do is we're going to use these 3 different stamps to heat emboss, and then we're going to colour them in using the soft pastels, and these are the soft pastels. So look a bit intimidating, but they're really not. So I'm going to do the heat embossing first and get started. So I've used a normal piece of cardstock, and because we're using photopolymer stamps, we don't need anything underneath. I'm going to take my little what's it called, buddy, stamping buddy, and I'm going to just go over my paper. This has some corn flour in it, and it takes all the smears and the static and the thumbprints out of your paper so that when you put your embossing powder on, it doesn't stick to everything else. I've got some Versamark ink here, and mine's getting a bit dirty, and I'm going to stamp my 3 images at the same time. You've got a little while before they dry, because this is a ink that takes a sticky ink that takes a bit of time to dry. So what I do is I stamp all 3 images at the same time. I've got 3 techniques to show to you, and then I've got some finished cards that were my demonstrations for my card class, so I'll show you what I did with each one once it was finished. And I'm really sorry if you can hear that, but it's absolutely pouring with rain outside, and I'm in my craft space garage, so you might be able to hear it. I actually find it really relaxing. So with these stamps, what I do is I don't clean them on the chamois. I use the scrub to wash the stamps off with. I'll show you. I'll just get it. So this is the stamping scrub. So you put the spray on here, which makes it wet, rub, and then this is the dry side. But I'll do it later. It's fine to leave it for a little while. Now this is the tray that you can get that keeps everything nice and tidy. You get some reverse tongs, which are Teflon, so they don't burn. You get a nice little brush, and we're going to use copper. I think copper is underestimated, but it looks so nice when you're colouring. It's a bit duller than gold. And you can see I'm using the tray to catch all my embossing powder. So I'm quite happy with how that's gone. I'm just gonna, there's a bit of leaf missing there. So now that you can leave as long as you like. The glue will dry, but the heat will make it stick. So I'm going to put my embossing powder back before I get my heat tool out, because if the heat hits that, it will melt it and it will be no good. I've got a bit on my table, which is normal, even though I use the tray. This can be used if you've got some embossing powder where you don't want it, you can just brush it off. And also this is really good for cleaning out your tray. And this is really good for holding your paper if you've got a small piece of paper, but because this is big, I can hold it in my hand. So I'm just going to turn my heat tool on just to warm it up. It doesn't take long to warm up, but it is really helpful to warm it up. And then you're going to hold it onto your paper. I'm going to bring this up for you. Hold it onto your paper until you see a changing colour. Don't do this because it moves the heat around too much. You want to keep the heat in the same space. I think you can see that that's changing. This is the coolest technique. And you want to see that shininess before you move on. See how once it's hot, it will work quite quickly. And you're looking for that shininess. So it goes from very dull powder to a very shiny copper in this case. Now you see I've got a few spatters here that I haven't brushed off. It doesn't bother me having the spatters. But when you're doing it on camera, you are sort of a bit back from it, so you can't really see it. So before you turn off your heat tool, just move it around just to check that all that embossing powder has turned. And there you go. And what I do is just go over it like this very gently and hope that it is all done, which it is. So we've got our 3 embossed images. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to move you in. I've never done this before, but I don't know if I can. Can I? Yes, I can. Ooh. There we go. So I'm going to... There we are. So this will help you just see what I'm doing. Now I've got a silicone mat here. And I'm just going to put that in the center for 1 minute. And I'm now going to take my Take Your Pick tool, which I forgot to get out of my bag. And your Take Your Pick tool's got these 2 ends. It's got a pokey end and a scraper end. Now I'm going to colour the nest. So I'm going to take a green. I'm going to scrape that off. So now I'm making a palette of paint. You don't need very much. And I'm going to take this blue, which is actually Coastal Cabana, but it is quite bluey rather than green. So the first one I'm going to do, using the colours, is I'm going to use a cotton bud. Found in every bathroom around the countries. And I'm still in shock, good. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick up some of the green and just blend it into the mat a little bit. This just helps it go into the cotton tip a bit better. And I'm just going to go over these leaves a bit. And this technique isn't supposed to be delicately detailed. It just makes a smudge mark. So it doesn't matter if it goes outside of the lines because you're wanting that watercolour look. So I've done a bit of green also around the nest, and that's plenty. So then I'm going to use the other end. I'm going to pick up the blue. Take it off a bit, and I'm going to colour in my eggs. Now you can see that there's not much colour on there, but what I do is I keep going back, in, roll it off until I'm happy with the amount of powder on there. And then I've picked up quite a thick bit, and you can see there's a lot of powder on there. I'm just going to work it into the paper, giving it time. So now I've finished with that, I'm going to put it to one side so it doesn't get on anything. I'm going to pick my piece of paper up and tap off the excess. Give it a blow, and there you go. So that's the first technique, doing your painting with a cotton bud. Now the next technique we're going to do is we're going to use an aqua painter. So this is a large one. You get them in packs of 3. So there's the fine one, that's the medium, and then there's a large. And I've forgotten to bring myself some paper out. So here's some spare on the side. And what I'm going to do is I've got some green for the leaves, so I'm going to just put a little bit more green there. Can you see that? Yep. And then I'm going to put, I'm going to do a red vase, I think. No, I'm going to do the flowers red. So I'm going to put my red palette out. I'm going to do the little flowers in this nice yellow. And this is Daffodil Delight. I think the red is Poppy Parade. I'm going to put some of the lighter green out by the darker green too. This is Granny Apple Green. And then I'm going to put out the blue. So now I'm building my palette. I haven't put much on there because it goes a very, very long way. I've got my brush. I'm going to now start with my base. So I'm going to do that in blue. So I've squeezed some water out of my aqua painter and onto the paper. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my first line of water and powder around the edge. And what this does is it helps keep the paint in, but also gives you the darker area. Then I'm just going to do a fill, like so. I'm going to pick up some concentrate and just go around this edge, just to give that a darker edge, and maybe down in this corner and across the top. And I take my paper and I clean my brush. So I squeeze until it goes clear. Go. I'm going to go back, put some water in. There we go. And paint my flower. Very, very mindful activity. Now I'm rushing a bit. Normally I would do this much slower. I'm going to go to the side where I've got my bit of paper and clean it off. Now what I'm going to do is just take the water brush, and this is the other technique you can do, is fill the thing you want to paint with water. So these dots, just put the water in them. And I'll show you what happens with that. I'm going to take my yellow, put some water in. There we go. Takes a while for the water to come out. And then I'm just going to drop the paint in, the paint that's on the end. And what happens is that the pigment, which is in the soft pastels, then moves with the water that you've just put in. It means that you can pick up pure pigment and just drop that in, and the water will help it move. Okay, so I'm just going to clean my brush off again, and I'm going to take this big leaf and these ones at the bottom. I think that is part of it. So these big ones at the bottom I'm going to do with the dark green, and again I've put the water in, so then you can just put the pigment in and let it do its thing, picking up the pigment. Let it flow. So you can paint two ways. You can either mix your palette with a bit of water, or you can paint and then just drop the pigment in. Cleaning my brush again, I'm going to go in with the lighter colour. And this time I'm doing it the other way. I've picked up the pigment and I've just painted it in. I don't think it's as clean when you do it this way, but I am rushing, so might be the difference. And that's that one done. So that's the painting technique using a water blender. Takes a while to dry, so don't maybe get it wet or get anything on it, whereas this technique is quite dry. We're still in shot. This time I'm taking our blender pens. I'm going to check that it's clean, and I'm just going to go in and I'm going to take this yellow, pick it up on my blender pen and just go in with the colour. And you use your blender pens with the ink. It's exactly the same technique. You just pick up your paint. And where the dark is where you put your pigment first, and then what's left on your brush, you move it around. This isn't watercolour paper, so you do need to be careful not to put too much water onto this paper, because it will start to come up and react to the paper. Now there is a bit of cup here. There we go. So I'm just going to clean off my tip, and then I'm going to pick up this nice bright green with my tip and then go in. And then maybe with this one we do a, let's do the red flower again. So again, picking up the pigment and colouring in. So you can see that instead of using your inks to colour, you can use the soft pastels to colour. And cleaning my brush off again. My pen, I mean. So this is what it looks like when you're cleaning off. So you do need to clean off at each time. So this is the techniques. You've got your cotton bud, your aqua painter, and your blender pen. And this one, I can see there's quite a bit of lighter colour there, so you can just go back in again and put some dark on top, which will give you the shadow. And maybe just follow around those edges a bit more when it's a bit less. And it's just practicing. Clean your brush off each time. So that's that way of colouring. Now I want to show you one last way. I've never done this, but it's supposed to work. I'm going to do it this way. But you can actually use pastels directly onto paper. Now this is watercolour paper because I am going to use some water. So you just get your pastels and drag it across. Look at that texture already. And then I'm going to go to a blue. I'm just dragging them across, and then maybe purple. So I'm keeping the colours in their families. Then I want my big aqua painter. Sorry, I didn't get that one out. It's got no water in it. So they come in packs of 3. And as you can see, there's a nice big brush end. So I'm going to just off to the side, squeeze the water into the brush end. And you want it quite wet. And with your brush strokes, just blending. And I haven't worried about cleaning my brush off each time. And what I've done is squeeze the water as I've gone. Once that's dried, you've then got a background for a stamp. You can then use your stamp again, Versamark, do a Versamark and powder, heat emboss, done. Or I would suggest stays on with this one because it's quite a good colour. So that will take a while to dry, but it is such a good texture on it. Brings out the texture of the paper. And then if you're really good at colouring in, you can use these to colour in because you've got fine points on them. So you can use them to colour in that way. But I actually really like this technique. And if you are a Stampin' Up demonstrator and you've got customers, this is such an easy way to make a background without having to get all your inks out, put them onto blocks and then use the painter or squeeze them and put it in the lid. You've got all these colours to do a beautiful background. So let's show you what I made in class with these ones we've already done. I'll let that dry off to the side. And this literally just goes into the sink, wash it off, and there will be a little bit of staining from the red and the blue, but it will wash off completely. So I'm just going to put that in my sink, because what you don't want is it to be on your cards. So I'm just going to move you out a bit, just a little bit. So these are the three I demonstrated with in class to show them what to do. I've almost done the same colours. Must like this blue. And then we made the cards. So the first one we did the nest, and we've stamped, bring this up to the camera, we've stamped in Versamark the nest on the back of the boho blue paper, and then we've done the sentiment from the stamp set, which I now can't see. Oh, that's why it's covered. So we've used the sentiment. No, we haven't used the sentiment. Where have I got this sentiment from? Please let me know in the comments, because I thought it was from this one, but it's not. But we've also, the dies that come with this stamp set, we've used to cut out the layers. And these are amazing. So you get this one, which is cut out those, and then you get a double, so it leaves a mark on what you've cut out on the cardstock, and then you've got a circle cut out as well. And then you've got the same here, cuts out a frame, but also cuts out the card that you cut it from. So that was the first one. The second one, where we used our aqua painters, I have used the sentiment, and I've used the perennial postage dies for this one, and used the this one for this one. And in the background again, I've used Versamark to put the pots in the background. And then the final card we made was the teacup. We've actually embossed the background. And as you can see, the obviously gorgeous grape matches with the purple in the pastels. I think this bird is from a bird set, I think, this sentiment. We've used vellum in the background. I've got some vellum left. Unfortunately, Stampin' Up doesn't sell it anymore, but I'm sure you'll get it from any good suppliers. And we've used the smaller circle. Not that one. Oh, we used this one to cut this out, and then we had another piece of card left over that we could have used for something else. And then we've just used gems from our stash that were left over. So those are the three cards that I made. And what I'll do is on my Facebook page, once this is dried, I'll do a stamp onto it and make a card with it, and then put the picture up on my Facebook page, which is under Caz Hurst NZ, if you want to go over there. So if you've got any comments, anything you'd like to say, that would be fantastic if you leave that in the comments. In the next hour, I'll put up all the information about all the products I've used today, so that you can see if you want to shop with me. The link will be on the information at the bottom of this video. If you are in New Zealand and you want a demonstrator to sign up with, there is a special on at the moment. Have a look, and there's so much amazing stuff for free at the moment. You get all the free in colours, which is fantastic. And yeah, I'm really, really happy that you have come along to see my video. Thank you for watching, and those of you that have watched while I've been live, thank you also. I haven't been able to see anything because my computer's gone into saving mode. I'm going to have to work out how I do that. But thank you so much for coming along, and I'll see you later. Bye for now.